Welcome to Negitrends TV, where African tales are filled with drama and unforgettable twists. Sometimes the things we chase blind us to what truly matters. Mrs. Grace was a hardworking entrepreneur, dedicated to building a thriving business. But in her pursuit of success, she overlooked the silent struggles of her children, Blessing and Samuel. What she thought was a perfect solution, a house help to care for them, turned into a nightmare. This gripping story of deception, resilience, and redemption will leave you reflecting on the true meaning of family. Watch till the end to see how Mrs. Grace uncovers the painful truth and fights to reclaim her children's happiness. Now, sit back and enjoy the story. Mrs. Grace was a successful entrepreneur managing multiple import businesses. Her days were packed with meetings, phone calls, and endless paperwork. Despite her accomplishments, she carried a constant guilt. Her children, Blessing and Samuel, were often left to care for themselves. Grace's husband, Ebuka, was also extremely busy as a project manager for an international company, spending most of his time abroad. The couple had long accepted the sacrifices required by their careers but failed to realize the impact of their absence on their children. Blessing, eat your food quickly. We are running late for school, Grace called out one morning as she stuffed files into her handbag. Samuel hid behind his sister, his uniform untidy, with one shoelace undone. Mommy, will you come home early today? Blessing asked, her eyes filled with hope. Grace hesitated for a moment, guilt tugging at her heart. I will try, my darling, but you know I have work. She kissed their foreheads, masking her emotions. The children were frequently left under the care of neighbors or had to stay at school long after closing hours. The strain was starting to show. Blessing had taken on responsibilities beyond her age, while 6-year-old Samuel was becoming withdrawn. One evening, Grace poured out her concerns to her husband over a rare phone call. I can't keep leaving the kids like this. It's not fair to them. They're growing up without us. Grace, I understand, Ebuka replied, but what's the solution? We can't abandon our careers. I've been thinking, maybe we should get a live-in helper, Grace suggested. Ebuka hesitated. You know the stories we've heard about house helps. Are you sure about this? We'll be careful, Grace reassured him. I will interview them thoroughly and make sure we get someone trustworthy. Ebuka sighed. All right. If it will give the kids some stability, let's try it. They started searching, leaning on referrals, asking friends and neighbors if they knew someone suitable. A few days later, Grace's friend, Goji, called. There's a girl I know, Mary. She's young, about 21, and seems decent. She worked for someone I know before they relocated. Should I send her over? Please do, Grace replied eagerly. When Mary arrived, she seemed perfect. Her innocent face and soft-spoken mannerisms put Grace at ease. Mary, do you like children? Grace asked during the interview. Yes, Ma, I love children, Mary replied with a warm smile. And you're okay with doing household chores? No problem at all, Ma. Grace and Ebuka agreed on her salary, and Grace even doubled it to ensure Mary worked wholeheartedly. With a warm welcome, Mary was introduced to the children. Blessing, Samuel, this is Auntie Mary. She'll be staying with us to help take care of things, Grace explained. Mary bent slightly and smiled. Hello, Blessing and Samuel. Hi, Blessing said shyly, while Samuel hid behind his sister. Grace sighed, with relief. Grace thought, this will work, unaware of the storm that was coming. Mary settled into the household with ease. To Mrs. Grace, everything seemed to be running smoothly. The children appeared well-fed and tidy whenever she came home. Mary, how are the children? Grace would ask. They are fine, Ma, Mary replied with a polite smile. Good, keep it up, Grace would say, rushing out the door. But beneath the surface, Mary's behavior started to change. The children were the first to notice. Blessing, always observant, began to dread her mother's departure each morning. Samuel. Auntie Mary is scary, she whispered one day as they sat at the dining table. Shoo. She will hear you, Samuel warned, his eyes darting nervously toward the kitchen. Mary had transformed from the sweet and nurturing help they had believed her to be into a tyrant. Her true colors emerged the moment the front door closed behind Grace each morning. Blessing. Samuel. Come here now. Mary's sharp, demanding voice echoed through the house one morning. The children hurried to the living room, their small feet pattering against the tiled floor. Yes, Auntie Mary, Blessing answered timidly. Mary was holding a broom. The sitting room is dirty. Sweep it, she barked. But Auntie, we are getting ready for school, Blessing protested, her voice trembling. Are you talking back to me? Mary snapped, revealing a cane she had hidden behind the sofa. The children fled. From then on, life became a nightmare for Blessing and Samuel. Mary assigned them chores that left them exhausted, mopping floors, scrubbing the bathroom, even washing their own clothes. When they failed to meet her impossible standards, she punished them with lashes from her cane. One afternoon, Samuel came home from school with his head bowed low. Auntie Mary, I am hungry, he said softly. Mary scoffed. Hungry? You just came back from school. Go and sell these oranges first. When you finish, then you can eat. But I'm tired, Samuel whispered. Before he could finish, Mary raised her hand threateningly. If say any word, you will sleep hungry tonight. The children were forced to sell oranges and water at the market after school, often wandering the streets until nightfall. When they returned home, Mary hurried them to bed before Grace arrived, ensuring they wouldn't reveal the wickedness they were enduring. One evening, Blessing gathered enough courage to speak up. Aunt Mary, please can we eat now? We are very hungry. Mary looked at her coldly. Did I tell you to sweep the veranda first? You children are lazy and useless. Finish the work and sleep. Blessing began to cry as she pulled her brother toward the veranda. Don't cry, Samuel whispered. Maybe Mommy will find out one day. The breaking point came. When Mrs. Grace's friend, MRS Joy, spotted Blessing and Samuel at the market, she was horrified. Their faces were weary, their uniforms stained with dirt. Blessing. Samuel. What are you doing here? She asked, shocked. You're selling water. Auntie Mary said we must sell them before we can eat, Blessing replied, her voice barely audible. Joy's heart sank. She quickly bought the water, fed the children, and promised to speak to their mother. As she walked away, anger bubbled inside her. How could Grace, my hardworking friend, allow this to happen? The next morning, MRS Joy stormed into Grace's office. Grace. How could you be so wicked? She demanded. What are you talking about? Grace asked, confused. Your children are being treated like slaves by that house help you hired. MRS Joy exclaimed. I saw them selling sachet water at the market today. Grace's heart dropped. My babies. No. No way, that can't be true. It is true, Grace. You need to go home and see for yourself. Shaken, Grace decided to take an emergency leave from work. She had no idea what awaited her at home. Her heart pounded as she drove back that afternoon, MRS Joy's words replaying in her mind. I trusted Mary. Could this truly be happening under my roof? She parked outside the gate, took a deep breath, and walked in. The sight before her made her blood boil. Mary was seated comfortably on the sofa, a large piece of chicken in one hand and a glass of fresh juice in the other. Her feet rested carelessly on Grace's polished center table. Mary jumped to her feet when she saw Grace. "Madam, you're back early today," she stammered, wiping her greasy hands on her clothes. "Where are my children?" Grace demanded, her voice trembling with anger. Oh. They went to sell water, Ma. They will be back soon," Mary replied, avoiding her gaze. Grace's eyes widened. "What?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the house. "My children are selling water." "Where exactly are they?" Mary hesitated. They are just down the street, Ma. I told them to sell quickly and come back." Grace clenched her fist, struggling to contain her rage. "You told my children to sell water. Since when did you become their mother?" Mary began to stammer, "Madam, it's not like that. They are fine, pack your things and leave my house this instant." Grace shouted. "I don't want to see your face here ever again. You've turned my home into a nightmare for my children. Get out." Mary attempted to plead, "Madam, please, I will change. I was only trying to help. By making them slaves in their own home. By denying them food. By forcing them to sell sachet water like common hawkers." Grace's voice was final. "Just leave." Defeated, Mary hurriedly packed her belongings and left. Grace rushed out of the house to search for her children. Her heart ached with guilt as she imagined what they had endured at the market. She spotted Blessing and Samuel sitting on a low bench, their tray of sachet water almost empty. They looked exhausted, their uniforms wrinkled and stained. "Blessing. Samuel." Grace called, her voice breaking. The children looked up, their faces lighting up in surprise. "Mommy!" Blessing cried, running toward her mother. Samuel followed, clutching his tray. Grace knelt and embraced them, tears streaming down her face. "My babies, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Blessing hugged her mother tightly. "Mommy, are you home for good now?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Yes, my darling. I'm here now. And no one will ever hurt you again," Grace promised. She took them home, determined to undo the damage Mary had caused. She ran them a warm bath and prepared a healthy meal: jollof rice, fried chicken, and plantains. The children ate eagerly, their smiles returning for the first time in weeks. "Mommy, this is the best food ever," Samuel said, laughing. "You deserve the best, my love," Grace replied, kissing his forehead. As the children played in the living room after dinner, Grace sat deep in thought. She could not believe what had happened, but she vowed to ensure a better future for them. From that moment on, Grace resolved to be more present in their lives. Work could wait, her children needed her. She would never trust a stranger with their well-being again. One evening, as Grace helped Blessing with her assignment, Blessing looked up and said, "Mommy, you are the best." Grace smiled. "Why do you say that, my love?" "Because now you're always with us, and we are happy," Blessing said simply. "And Mommy, you are my superhero," Samuel chimed in. "A superhero? How?" Grace asked. "Because you saved us, Mommy," Samuel murmured before drifting off to sleep. Grace kissed their foreheads, tears streaming down her face, not of sadness, but of gratitude. She had learned the hard way that no amount of success, no amount of money, could replace the joy of seeing her children happy and safe. From that moment on, she vowed to protect them, to be present, and to never again entrust their well-being to a stranger. Family is the greatest treasure, and every child deserves love, care, and security. Thank you for watching this heartfelt tale of resilience and redemption. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nejitrans TV for more captivating African folktales just like this. Stay tuned for more stories that inspire, entertain, and reflect the richness of African culture. See you in the next one.